Okay, sixth graders, this is the constructed response organizer. And the best part about this is that this is how you will write all the way through CY middle school in the ELA department, okay? So learning how to do this well in sixth grade will help you in seventh and eighth grade a lot, okay? So whenever we are writing these constructed responses, sometimes we will ask you to use different colors to make sure that you have each piece of it. And when we do that, we are always going to ask you to use, ooh, that's too small. We're always going to ask you to use green for the topic, sentence, and conclusion. We're going to ask you to use yellow for the evidence, which is when we slow down and provide evidence from the text, okay? That's kind of hard to see. Let's do this, okay? Then we're going to ask you to use red in order to stop and explain how your evidence proves what you said in your topic sentence. And then your conclusion is also always going to be in the color green, okay? Let me drag that down here. Okay, now, the other thing that you have to know is when we're talking about the topic sentence, your topic sentence always needs to include your tag. And your tag stands for, and I'll do it in green so that we know that that color is supposed to be green, right? So tag stands for title, author, and genre, okay? So we always have to include that in our topic sentence as well as restating the prompt, okay? So when we look at the prompt, let's go ahead and do that first. Consider how Rifka's worldview as a Jewish girl fleeing Russia is challenged or reinforced by the events that happened in chapters 6 and 7. How does her perception of the world evolve as she deals with both physical and emotional struggles? Now, you might already be like, what? What? This is, Mrs. Pruitt. But let's go ahead and break it down. Couple words that are maybe unfamiliar in this kind of way of using them is challenged and reinforced in the first sentence. So consider how Rivka's worldview as a Jewish girl fleeing Russia is challenged or reinforced by the events that happen in chapters 6 and 7. So then you have to think, what could those possibly mean? So if your worldview is being challenged, then that would mean that it's being tested. Somebody is kind of pushing against it. If it's being reinforced, that means that somebody's showing you, yep, you're right. It's proving it, okay? And in the second sentence, it says, how does her perception of the world evolve as she deals with both physical and emotional struggles? Her perception is her view, and evolve is to change, okay? So, couple of things that happen in chapters 6 and 7 that we could write about is her being left in Europe because of her ringworm, or how she starts losing hair from her ringworm. But we really want to focus on the worldview part, okay? And so there's two incidents that happen in these chapters that could really challenge her and how she thinks about people, or could reinforce that, not all people are good and the world is a scary place. And those are the old man with the oranges and how the highest lady helps her get a cure. So we're going to focus on how the highest lady helps her get a cure because that challenges her perspective that the world isn't safe and that maybe things aren't always that great, okay? So we have to start out with our tags. So we want to make sure that we get our title, author, and genre into the topic sentence. So we're going to type in the historical fiction novel, because that's what this is, letters, and we underline it. I'm going to use quotation marks because this doesn't allow me to underline it. Letters from Rifka by Karen Hess. So now we have we have the genre, historical fiction, we have the title, Letters from Rifka, and we have the author. Okay, so in the historical fiction novel, Letters from Rifka by Karen Hess, and I'm going to put a comma because that's introductory. Now we have to respond to the question, how does her perception of the world evolve as she deals with both physical and emotional struggles? In the historical fiction novel, Letters from Rifka by Karen Hess, Rifka's worldview is challenged when a lady from the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, and then from now on we can just refer to it as HIAS, but we want to tell our reader what HIAS stands for, helps find a way for Rifka to get a cure for ringworm before going to America. Okay. Now, we're going to move on to our first piece of text evidence with an evidence stem. But before we do that, I'm going to focus on giving a little bit more information about what's going on in the story. So we're going to start out and we're just going to write about how Rifka is often pretty scared of people because her family has always been threatened. So we're going to write, Rifka is often nervous about how people will react to her because of her treatment in Russia for being Jewish. Now we're going to use a sentence stem. So you're going to look at your sentence stems or transitions paper, and we're going to find a sentence stem, such as according to the text, for example, etc. So we're going to use according to the text. According to the text. Now this tells your reader there's text evidence coming. The highest, H-I-A-S is all capitalized. Lady said, comma. Now I'm going to use a single quote because this is dialogue within the quote. In Antwerp, there will be someone from my organization to look out for you, comma, to monitor your care. Period. I do my end quote for the dialogue, and then I do my end quote for the quotation for the text evidence. Then I cite it with the author's last name and the page number that this text came out of. So Karen Hess, page 49. I just include her last name, not her first name, okay? I'm going to go back to this box and make it white. There we go. That's a little easier to read. Now we're going to move on to explaining how this evidence proves that her worldview is being challenged, okay? So now I'm going to switch my color to red because that's what we do. We stop and provide additional information or explain how our text evidence proves what we're saying. So now we're going to say, we're going to give a little bit more information about everything. This is one of the first times that Rifka's family has received help and kindness from others. This proves, so now that's the transition to say I'm going to explain how my evidence proves my point. This proves that Rifka's experience with the lady from the highest has challenged her view of the world. she has been treated poorly before now, comma, and after finding out that she would have to stay in Europe, Rifka has hope that people are truly going to help her. This could impact how she views others in the future. Okay, so that's our explanation. Now we're going to go ahead and do the conclusion. Okay, so now we're going to do the conclusion. And so I'm going to switch my color again to green. And I'm going to use a transition again. This time I'm going to use to conclude. So I'm going to write, or you can write in conclusion, to conclude, comma, Rivka's experience with the highest may help shift her perception of people to being more positive, okay? This is how you write a constructed response. We will do lots of these this year. You will do lots of them in 7th and 8th grade as well. The color coding will always stay the same, as will the expectations of the topic sentence, okay? What you write about is what will change. So if you have questions, come see me. And know, especially if you missed today, I will be here to help you get through your first constructed response after reading Chapter 9.